This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
The author of the Terumas points out that from the episode of Cain, we learn the incredible power of Tefilla, that Tefilla is always effective to some extent. Because the punishment the Rebbeinu Shalom gave Cain, he said, "No vanad tia ba'aretz," you're going to be a wanderer. And the Medrash in Parsha Nitzavim learns from the fact that ultimately Cain had his punishment mitigated, that we see from here the great power of Tefillah. Because ultimately Cain was only Vayeshev Be'eretz Noid, he lived in the land of the wanderers. But the question being, how do we see that his punishment was mitigated in any extent? The Rebbeinu Shalom said, you'll be a wanderer, and he was. No, from here the Medrash says that if Tefillah doesn't do kula, it does chetz. Yeah, it will do half. So the Chumash explains as follows. When Hashem tells Cain, "Na v'na tia ba'aretz," his kavanah wasn't only physically he would be a wanderer and be in exile. He meant spiritually as well, that his soul would be in the kaf hakela. Kaf hakela is some kind of slingshot in Shamayim where the soul is just boomeranged from one place to the other with no respite. But when he was mizvad al chetay, when Cain said, "Gadal avoni minasai," so even though he was not he was not forgiven completely, and ultimately vayeshev be'eretz noid, but it was only ba'aretz. He only had to live in the land of the wanderers, but he saved his soul from that ultimate punishment of wandering in the afterlife. Says the Chumash, from here we see that when a person davens bekavana, his tefillah will not be turned away empty-handed, because if it's not effective completely, and if it doesn't do wonders down here in this world, it will be effective for the upstairs. Here we have Cain. He was given a sentence, and he prayed, and it seems that ba'aretz, his tefillah was completely rejected. But truthfully, his tefillah was very much accepted. It was half accepted. In other words, he saved his soul from suffering the fate of the kaf hakela, which one would assume was a worse fate than being be'eretz noid in olam hazeh. This is the great limud from the Terumas Hakri. Wishing everyone a great Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.